this and then do this entire number right here. And then the rest you can do the last four. Okay. All right?
And this is before the public hearing.
No, that is during after I do my presentation, you open up the public hearing, that's when you're going to do
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
After the public hearing starts.
All announced.
Okay, you guys, let's do it. We're called to order the City Council meeting for February 9th, 2021. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. Any persons wishing to comment on today's meeting?
Excuse me, Mayor, point of order. I just wanted to call the meeting into order.
Oh, please, Madam Clerk, would you
Yes, Mayor.
call the meeting to order?
Yes, Mayor. Quorum is present for the City Council, Successor Agency, and Housing Authority.
Okay, and for public comment, any persons wishing to make public comment by phone may dial in one of these two numbers, 888-251-2949 or 215-861-0694. The access code for either number is 529-2740#. Madam Clerk, could you, Operator, are there any callers on the line?
As we move to the open comment portion, please press #2 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. You'll hear a notification when your line is unmuted. At that time, please state your name and question. Once again, pressing #2 if you wish to indicate a comment or a question.
And these are comments right now, callers, for the Inglewood City Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority, any item like that on today's agenda. Open comments will be at the end of the meeting. Public hearing comments will be called when the public hearing is held.
I do have one question here. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is Farian Afifi. I didn't quite catch it. I raised the hand. Is this the time for public comment, or it's only for questions?
This is public comment for agenda items. If it's on the public hearing, you'll have to wait for the public hearing to be called. If it's an open comment, it's at the end of the meeting.
I apologize. I want to speak on the public hearing, so I'll wait.
Okay, with that, we'll close public
We
comment.
do have one more.
All right.
Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. I'd like to speak on the warrant register. On the warrant register, you have various payments that you were making that couldn't be deferred. And it's not understanding, you're talking about getting a line of credit and the shortage, and the shortage that you're facing, yet you're making payments that can be deferred. You have this thing with what item it is, something about Vincent Park, and it's gone. Why would you, in the life of me, I don't understand, it's called a For Love Foundation or something. Why would you commit making payments out of the general fund but that can be deferred. This is winter time. Who the hell gonna play golf in the winter time? Like, you got other payments which take what's there. Now you have a couple on there, that number 06860506. You're making payments with the city attorney with legal for various legal payments of various legal messages on a business that he's given to somebody else. What the hell is various legal things? There's no definition. But the point I'm making is, you talk about the general fund being short and COVID and all of that, but you got money where nobody's paying attention what can be deferred. And the second thing is, you have non-departmental fund. Now, what is the source of this organization, or what is the source of the funding? And it's very difficult. Then you have a legislative advocacy group, $50,000 a year, and yet you have two state representatives on the sixth floor. And who is monitoring the warrant register?
Okay.
It seems to me that
Gil?
yeah.
Gil, did you ask about the line of credit? Is that what you asked about?
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Yeah, did you ask about
Yeah,
the line of credit that we recently applied for?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to explain that to
And
you.
what I'm saying is, I like.
No, Gil, your time's up.
No, don't take my time.
Operator, would you silence the mic? Mr. Matthew, what the line of credit was for, it's for us to have the money available because we have a grant, a $92 million grant, some of which we are using for consultant services to do the planning, architecture, and other things that are necessary in the planning for a people mover. But it's a reimbursable grant, meaning that we have to show paid invoices to the state before we're reimbursed. And so this line of credit is about 0.5% while the money's outstanding. And the reason we do this is so we don't have to draw down out of the general fund. We pay the bills, and then we're reimbursed, and reimburse the line of credit. We're reimbursed within 90 days. And so this is a fiscally prudent measure because at this time of declining revenues because of COVID, we don't want to front load grant monies. We want to keep our finances stable. So this is not money that we need for operations. It's to make sure that we stay fiscally stable. So I wanted to explain that to you. Operator, any callers?
At this time, there are no other questions.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Warrant register.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members, successor agency members, and housing authority members, Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Falk. Mayor Chairman Butts.
Aye. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
Yes, Mayor. The next scheduled matter is a resolution of necessity hearing to consider the rescission of previously adopted resolutions of necessity and the adoption of resolution of necessity to acquire property in the city of Inglewood for the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center project.
Has the notice of the hearing been given in a time, form, and manner as required by law, and has the affidavit been placed on file?
Mayor, notice has been given. The affidavits are on file.
Have any communications been received on the matter?
Yes, Mayor, communications have been received.
Receive and file them. Before the staff report, I want to explain that we are engaging in a rescission of the previously adopted resolutions of necessity to make sure that certain persons that said they weren't able to call in for the last hearing are heard. And so we're rehearing the matter. Is there a staff report on the matter, Mr. Fields?
Yes, Mr. Christopher Jackson, Economic and Community Development Director, will give the staff report.
Mr. Jackson, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. As you are apprised, it's a hearing to receive public testimony from property owners subject to our resolution of necessities. Also receive public comments, and then the rescind previously adopted resolution of necessities for P1. And this is all outlined in our staff report as associated with assessor's parcel number, assessor identification numbers, P1, P3, P4, P5, P6, P7, and P12. Also, as part of that, we're required to make findings pursuant to Code of Civil Procedures 1240.030. And then finally, the council is requested to adopt the attached RONs authorizing and directing the city attorneys to prepare, commence, and file proceedings in eminent domain for the purpose of acquiring the private properties that are needed for the development of the proposed IBEC project. Although I'm not doing a PowerPoint presentation, the previous PowerPoint that was presented last week is made part of this record, as indicated in the staff report. Accompanying me are special outside counsel, Royce Jones of Kane, Bowman, and Berkman. We also have special outside counsel, Brenda Aguilar-Guerra of Myers Narvin. With regard to resolution necessity, Mary, right on the dime in terms of how the reason why we're back to conduct this. I won't go through the project. We all are aware of it and the scope of it, and it's included as what's necessary in the staff report. But despite the submission and consideration of written objections filed by counsel for private properties, or objections asserted by counsel, and testimony from numerous members of the public, certain property owners and their legal representatives have asserted that they were unable to speak at the resolution of necessity hearing on January 26, 2021. And although city management believes all property owners who provided timely notice and wanted to be heard at the RON hearing were given an opportunity to speak, it is nonetheless decided to recommend that the city council rescind those RONs, those resolutions of necessities that I spoke of earlier, adopted on January 26th, and all of those except for what is P11, and provide all property owners who choose to appear to be heard on the RON hearing another opportunity to do so. And all property owners whose property is subject to acquisition consideration by the city council at this RON hearing have received notice of this hearing pursuant to Code of Civil Procedure Section 1245.235 and participation instructions to assure they'll have opportunity to speak and were given opportunity to do so during the hearing. And then all evidence received during the January 26, 2021 RON hearing has been incorporated, will be incorporated into and made part of the administrative record for this hearing. Quickly, a resolution of necessity must be adopted prior to commencement of an eminent domain action. There's 4 findings that have to be made. 1, the public interest and necessity require the project. 2, the project is planned or located in a manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. 3, the property sought to be condemned is necessary for the project. And 4, an offer of just compensation has been made to the property owner. Obviously, as I indicated at the last hearing, the amount of just compensation is not an issue for determination at this hearing. Quickly, the eminent domain process, if the city council approves the RONs, then the attorneys will file a complaint to acquire the property. Our city attorneys and outside special counsel will file a complaint to acquire the property and obtain possession. The case can settle informally or through mediation. If no settlement, a jury will determine fair market value of the property. As far as protection to the property owners, owners are protected by state and federal law. City will deposit its appraisal amount, which the owner can withdraw. Owners can present a claim for greater compensation than offered, and then the jury determines the amount of the compensation. Our recommendation is that you receive this public testimony, that you follow the standards that we've outlined in the staff report, and that concludes staff presentation. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Okay, so we're going to try and hear from some persons that felt they didn't have an opportunity to speak last time. We're receiving public testimony from property owners or their representatives. The first number we want you to unmute, operator, is for Fayan Afafi, and the last four digits of the number are 3000. Is that caller on the line, operator?
Absolutely. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. This is Farian Afifi. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Okay, thank you. I'm an attorney, and I represent three property owners that are the subject of your hearing today. Let me just identify them. They are the properties that are located at 10,004 South Prairie, 10,022 South Prairie, and then the vacant land adjoining them with an APN number that ends in 006. My clients are Savine Investments. That's the owner that I think everyone knows of the property that currently has Church's Fried Chicken on it. And the two other pieces of property are owned by Donfar that are vacant land. First of all, I want to be clear. I know there's two resolutions before you. The first is to rescind the resolutions of necessity from the last hearing. We obviously do not object to that. We support that because both myself and my clients, who are also going to speak today, were the people that were trying to speak, wanted to speak, and were denied the opportunity to speak at the last hearing. So we support the rescission of the prior resolutions of necessity. With respect to the proposal of the current resolutions of necessity, which are the same as the ones submitted before, I would like to speak on those, and we want to object to them for the following reasons. By the way, my clients are also going to speak, and I won't repeat what they will speak to so that we can save time and just address the issues. But with respect to the obligations of the City Council here to find four findings before adopting these resolutions, I want to direct your attention to numbers 2 and 3. The second of which, as Mr. Jackson just explained, is that you must find that the project is most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. And the second is that the properties, and specifically I'm referring to the properties that I just identified, my client's properties, are necessary for the project. What I want to address first with you is that from what I've heard both last time and this time from hearing, although we didn't get a chance to speak, I don't believe the City Council, and for this reason we're objecting to this resolution, I don't believe the City Council has adequately addressed whether or not all of the properties being taken, including my client's properties, are being compatible with the greatest public good, most importantly with the least private injury. I don't know what the City Council has done in terms of assessing that. I haven't heard it. And from what I heard and from what I've read, there is an inadequacy of that entire analysis, which then dovetails to the next point that you must find, and point number 3 that you must find under CCP 1240, that's Code of Civil Procedure 1240.030. The third point is that the particular properties that my clients own are not necessary for the project. There has not been a finding of that. They may be convenient for the project, and they may be aesthetically pleasing for the developers.
10 seconds, sir.
Well, okay, but they are not necessary for the project, and for those reasons, we object to the resolution of necessity being proposed. Thank you for the time.
You're very welcome. Operator, the next line we want you to unmute ends in 6006. Daniel Fatarzi.
And your line has been
Ladies and
unmuted.
gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Daniel Saparzadeh, and I am the managing member of both Savine Investments, LLC, that owns and controls the 10004 South Prairie Avenue property, as well as the managing member of Danfar PCH, LLC, which owns the 10022 South Prairie Avenue property and the adjacent lot. My partner and I are not newcomers to this city. In fact, long before a multi-billionaire by the name of Mr. Balmer decided to come to the city of Inglewood to build a stadium for his toy basketball team that he has newly purchased, we have been property owners in this city since 1998, before any of you gentlemen and ladies had any position at the city and its city council board.
That's
Long
not
before
true.
there was a world-class stadium being built across the street from our property We invested our life savings in this city, and despite its many challenges, hanged on and did not live believing that the future was going to be bright. We have confirmed our faith in this city by expanding our investment, by buying more property in the city over the past few years. Before I present my objection to this unjust and rubber-stamped decision, I would like to share an experience that I recently had that pretty much explains the charade that we are witnessing today. The other day, I was at a department store buying a toy dollhouse for my daughter's little toy collection. And as I was checking out, I could not stop myself thinking of the similarities between my purchase of a modest dollhouse for my 4-year-old daughter to Mr. Balmer trying to purchase and construct a stadium for his pet project, the Clippers basketball team. The only difference is that I did not try to avoid paying the full price for the dollhouse by asking the store manager to steal the dollhouse and bring it outside so I can pay the fraction of the actual cost for the dollhouse rather than purchasing it through normal means, the cashier of the store, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Balmer does not need your favor and your help to build his stadium. Mr. Kroenke built a $4.5 billion stadium in Inglewood because he realized that this is the ideal location as opposed to other proposed sites in downtown LA and the city of Carson. Mr. Balmer does not need additional incentives or favors so he can build a stadium in this city, as this is already an ideal location for a second stadium. Mr. Balmer can build his stadium by paying for the land that he needs and does not need your doctored up reasons to steal it on his behalf, just as the city did when he bought the forum from the Madison Square Garden under false pretenses.
10
And
seconds.
again,
10 seconds.
with, as it ends the light, do not.
Okay. The next caller is.
Well, I don't know where. Next year, the Super Bowl will be at SoFi Stadium.
Okay.
And you have decided to take our property and deprive us of the benefit of our foresight for decades. And all
Mr.
to pay
Fatarsi,
a quarter of
Mr. Fatarsi, you're at time. When I hit the little gavel, that means there's 10 seconds left, and we do hear you. We hear you. Operator, the next caller, Kevin Rogan, and the last 4 digits of the number are 0460.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Kevin Brogan, B-R-O-G-A-N. I'm eminent domain counsel for the family that owns 3915 West 102nd Street. It's a improved industrial building. I was on the line last time but was unable to speak. I gave it my best shot but was never unmuted. These are our quick thoughts on this. Number one, the proposed taking is not a public use, and thus it violates both the California Constitution and Section 1240.010 of the Code of Civil Procedure, which requires a public use before the city can take private property. Number two, the city has obviously predetermined what it's done. It has many contracts with Mr. Balmer and Murphy's Bowl. This is basically a violation of what we call the Norms Slauson case. Number three, to the extent that the city wants to use Section 1240.120A of the Code of Civil Procedure to acquire my client's property, that's an inappropriate use of that section for this proposed taking. And that concludes my remarks. We object to the resolution of necessity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rogan. Next operator, I want you to unmute Dean Dennis, and the last, well, you're going to need the whole number, 266-6116. Oh, he got lines through him. Excuse me, 6116. 600.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Deep Dennis. I am condemnation counsel for Devin Rupabala and Susie Kwan, with two parcels, and with the parcel numbers ending in 035 and 033. Picking up on what Mr. Brogan just said, we object to the resolution of necessity and will challenge the right to take on the basis that there is no public use for this project. Prior to 2011, the city had the ability to condemn blighted private property for redevelopment purposes and have that property transferred to a private developer. That is no longer permitted by statute in California, and we will argue that this hearing is a pretext for the transfer of private property to another private owner for a private development, which is not permitted under the statutes or constitution of the state of California. There may be aspects of the arena project that will benefit the city. It may be a worthy project for the city. And we understand that the wealthy developer here has promised lots of goodies for the city. But there is no billionaire exception to the public use rule just because the public will have ancillary or may have ancillary benefits. That does not make it a public use for purposes of using the power of eminent domain. The city here is essentially loaning its power of eminent domain to the developer, and that is not permitted under any case or statute in California. The City of Oakland case, the City of Anaheim case, where the courts have said that the city can own an arena, or at least an arena is public use. But here, of course, the city is not going to own anything. There's no public funds here at stake at all. The developer is paying for everything. And the only difference here is where the developer should be acquiring these parcels by itself, the city is acquiring the parcels for the developer at the developer's expense and forcing the owners to sell under the power of the city's eminent domain. The government's eminent domain power is vast, and the rules are closely conscribed as a result. We fully expect the court will find that the city's use of eminent domain in this situation is not lawful, and the case will be dismissed, and the city ultimately will have to pay the owners costs and attorney's fees. Thank you very much for your time. We'll answer any questions that maybe the council has.
Thank you. Operator, the next caller is Neil Brower, and the last four digits of the phone number are 9132.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members. Neil Brower of Jeffer, Mangles, Butler, and Mitchell, representing Savine Investments, the owners of 10,004 South Prairie. You've heard of the procedural and substantive deficiencies of this procedure, both as a whole and with respect to our specific property, as articulated by Mr. Zafifi, Saparzadeh, Dennis, and Brogan. And I also reiterate my testimony provided on January 26th. What I'd like to specifically address right now is point 4, the finding that you must make that an offer, that you made the offer required by Government Code Section 7267.2. The offer received by Mr. Saparzadeh was not an offer that satisfies those provisions of the Government Code. The basis for that valuation was unclear, and in any event, it does not appear to have, even setting aside the presence of the project proposed here and for which this eminent domain proceeding is being conducted, it doesn't reflect the fact that the existing business on the property is a going concern. It doesn't reflect the value as reflected by the nearby SoFi Stadium and other venues and the effects of the traffic and the effects of the patronage of those facilities. As far as we can tell, the offer made by the city was somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 a square foot, which falls far, far short by a number of multiples of the true market value of the property if all proper factors are taken into concern. In fact, an offer made by Mr. Saparzadeh to the city for a similarly situated property a while back, accounting for SoFi Stadium and so forth, was roughly $1,000 a square foot, and we believe that the value of that property exceeds that one. Therefore, the city's estimate, or what it purports to be its good faith belief in value, is somewhere between 1/5 and 1/6 of actual value. And we intend to contest that strongly in the event of any condemnation proceeding brought on this property. Thank you very much for your time and for the opportunity to speak again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brower. Operator, the next caller we have on the list, and then we'll open it up to any other public comment, is Farhad Yazdinian, and the last four numbers of the phone number are 1127.
Hello, everybody. My name is Farhad Yazdinian, and I'm the owner of Savin Investment, LLC. And something that I want to say that everybody forgot about, the city helped Mr. Balmer to buy the farm. I really don't understand why you guys don't build the stadium right on the farm rather than taking somebody else's property. That's all. Thank you very much.
All right. But we didn't help him buy the farm, though. Operator, any other callers on the line?
We do have one on the line. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, all. Can you hear me?
Can hear
Yes,
you
please
just
state your
fine.
name.
We hear
Yeah,
you just fine.
my name is Dev Bala. I'm the owner of the warehouse on which, right directly on the property where Mr. Balmer has decided to build his arena. I built this building actually myself with my father from the ground up 30 years ago. I've been part of Inglewood for over 30 years, going through all the hard times and good times, looking to a brighter future, and starting my family business and running it there for a very long time. And I was hoping that one day we would reap the benefits of our commitment and time and citizenship there, and was obviously very heartbroken when I found out about what was going on. And and then to double that pain was the fact that the city in the previous hearing, I heard the gentleman say that they're negotiating with the owners or making fair and equitable offers to the property owners, but that has not been the case at all. The city has not even offered what Murphy's Bowl, Mr. Balmer's company, offered just weeks before the city got involved. Nowhere even close to that. And Murphy's Bowl didn't make it even when they made the offer, they didn't even make it as a fair offer itself. They told us at that point that, if you don't come to us and take what we say, we'll have the city take it from you. I mean, that's not what I think this country is about. And, and then even the offer, I don't know if you're aware. I mean, I know you guys are making the higher up decisions, but I don't know if you know what's going on. Are you aware that they're, using appraisals that not only, as the other gentleman said, are completely off the market value, but they're not even accurate. I mean, the square footage is off by 30 or 40% of what the actual square footage. All you have to look is in the city record and see what the square footage of the building is, and they're not even giving the square footage correct to assess the appraisal with. And they're pennies on the dollar, and they're squeezing the little guy. I mean, I was listening to your last meeting where the council members were so happy because their home values are going up and they could do this. But what about us? What about us? We invested there. We worked hard there. We've been there for a long time, and why are we being eliminated from the city? What did we do? I mean, I've had my loyalty there for all these years, and the city should stand up for us too and look for our rights, not just for the benefit of Mr. Balmer. I understand he has.
Come on, you're gonna have to go to 10 seconds. You're at time, but go at 10 more seconds.
Okay, so I mean, what I'm trying to say is,
I've reached out privately many a times to city manager, Mr. Artie Fields, to all the multiple consultants, and just said, treat us fairly and equitably, and don't try to threaten us with the police powers and play the whole game. I mean, that's all I'm asking is for you guys to look, we're also people too, and just don't roll over us and treat us fairly. That's all I wanted to say.
I agree with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Yazdanian. Okay.
We do have one other caller.
All right, go ahead. Caller, go ahead.
Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Gil Matthews, District 4, long-time resident of Inglewood. I agree with everything the previous owner said prior to me. And what he is really giving you, the plight of the residents of Inglewood. And the only response that I can tell him, this is USA corporate America. The little man does not count. You must be in the loop. And Mr. Mayor, how can you sit here and say that the city is not involved when you gave $18 million to the forum prior to the sale? Given on a $400 million.
Gil?
Was not.
Gil?
What?
When was that $18 million rehabilitation loan made?
No. Hey,
do you remember what year it was? It was.
No, stop my time. I want my time.
That's okay. It was in 2012, Gil. It was.
I don't give a damn if it was 200. Let me speak, okay?
But I just
don't
want to
take
make
my
sure
time.
that you understand $18 million
Hey, I
was given to the Bomber Group.
Okay? I don't understand everything. Now, don't take my time. Answer after I finish. I'm claiming my time as a resident of Inglewood. So can you give me back my time?
You're wasting it right now, Gil.
No, I'm not wasting it. I didn't ask you to answer. You interrupted me. Have some respect for the resident. I am a resident, and I'm sick and tired of you trying to be Hitler. It's not going to work. The residents are listening. And I would tell you again, the previous owner has eloquently expressed the demise of the residents of Inglewood. You've been a bully, and it ain't going to work. You are mayor of Inglewood. You're not mayor of Obama. They don't live here. They can't vote. But they can give you the money to elect your turkeys. And you got in District 1, and you got District 2. You got 2 turkeys. And the last one, I don't know where she's coming from. And Morales grew up here. He knows better. But he can't do better because he's outvoted. And you've been a rascal since you got elected. You're a decent human being. Okay? But you won't admit nothing. You're a policeman. Or ex-policeman.
Retired. Operator, that'll be time. Operator, are there any other callers?
Not at this time.
Okay. So now we're going to go into a couple things. First of all, for clarity, the city used $18 million redevelopment funds, which were funds distributed to the city by the state of California to spur economic development. And we made an $18 million rehabilitation loan to Madison Square Garden in their purchase, after they purchased the forum, towards the $100 million renovation of it. And that loan expires after 10 years of the city receiving at least $1 million in total tax revenue, ticket tax, property tax, concession tax. So this is money that was granted by the state that was converted into tax revenue for the city. So that was not part of the transaction that occurred just recently when the farm was purchased. Now, Mr. Jackson, I wanted to touch on a couple things. One, we seem to have owners or the representatives that think they're being forced to sell for pennies on the dollar. First of all, there is a legal proceeding in eminent domain. Is that not right?
Correct.
Okay, so they can't be forced by the city to sell for an arbitrary amount. And secondly, they question the appraisals, the accuracy, and the legitimacy of the appraisals. So do we have any comment on that?
Yeah, I'm going to have outside counsel Brenda Aguilar-Guerrero come and respond to that. Thank you, Mayor.
Clark, you do such a good job, buddy.
Good afternoon. Mr. Bala that spoke and said that the appraiser got his building 30 to 40% off, we sent a letter in which we asked him whether the appraiser could have a site inspection with them so that he could go inside the building and confirm. Because according to the information he had, some of the building, you can't walk on that third floor. So he wanted to confirm. So if they do not allow us on the property, the appraiser, has to do it based upon what's in the public record. And so that is the only reason. That's what he did. And we sent letters to all of the property owners. Not a single one allowed the appraiser on site, which is unheard of. In most places, they let the appraiser go. And they answer the questions, and they give them the information, and the appraiser uses that information. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, don't come, don't look at my property because I don't want, you to see it, and then complain about the appraisals. And Mayor Butts, you're absolutely correct. Eminent domain proceeding will allow a jury to determine what just compensation is. As part of our offer package, we made all of the property owners a $5,000 offer so they could get their own appraisal if they felt that ours was deficient. Not a single one did that, but they will have the opportunity in court to have a jury make a determination as to what just compensation is. And that is not one of the findings that is to be made today.
Okay, and again, to reemphasize, there's no way that they can be forced to sell for, what I heard someone say, pennies on the dollar, that appraisals are done, and in fact, if necessary, there's a court trial, and then jurors will decide what the fair market value is. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Okay, thank you very much.
And are public comments finished? Because I can address some of the legal arguments that were made.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to go through, there was quite a few legal arguments. One, why don't we start with Mr. Dennis, who, by the way, also submitted 2 letters. They were almost identical letters, and they were also on behalf of the 2 property owners, Ms. Kwan and Mr. Bala. First thing is that he's saying that we are trying to use redevelopment in order to acquire these properties. The city has no intention, and there's no evidence that a redevelopment agency, that is trying to establish a redevelopment agency, and we don't need to rely on redevelopment law to acquire any of the subject properties. The city has its own power to condemn the subject properties for arena uses. And that was all set forth in the staff report and in the PowerPoint. Our charter, the City of Inglewood's charter, specifically gives the city the power under Article 3, Section 4, Paragraph 7, 13, 14, and 59. All of those sections allow the city to use its charter. Moreover, Government Code Section 37350.5 allows a city to acquire by eminent domain any property necessary to carry out any of its powers or functions, which would include stadium. On top of that, the California Constitution allows it. And the decision.
Could I interject just for 1 second?
Yeah.
I don't think most people understand that the City of Inglewood Charter specifically allows eminent domain to be used for this type of project, because they focus on that it can only be used for public items like police stations, roadways, parks, so on and so forth. But City of Inglewood is a charter city, and this charter provision, I think, was put in the charter in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. They probably had the form in mind when they did it, but our charter specifically allows for this type of eminent domain action.
Right, absolutely. And on top of that, the California Supreme Court said that you could do it. In the City of Oakland versus Oakland's Raiders case, in that case, the California Supreme Court said anything calculated to promote the education, recreation, or the pleasure of the public is to be included within the legitimate domain of public purposes. It said providing access to recreation to its residents in the form of spectator sports is an appropriate function of city government. So we have it. We can rely on case laws that says you can condemn for stadium purposes. Now, they're going to argue, well, yes, you city can acquire for stadium purposes, but turning it around and giving it to Murphy's Bowl is not allowed. That's what they're going to argue. Well, both, not just the California Supreme Court, but the United States Supreme Court already held that you can do that. That as long as there's a public purpose, which in this case is the stadium, you can transfer it to a developer, to a private citizen, and that does not destroy the public use. For example, in the City of Oakland versus Raiders case, the Raiders argued, Judge, don't let them condemn the team because the NFL doesn't allow a municipality to be an owner. So they're going to acquire by condemnation, and then they're going to transfer it to another team. And the California Supreme Court said, as long as adequate controls are imposed upon any retransfer of the condemned property, there is no reason why the public purpose which justifies a taking may not be served and protected. And in this case, we do have those controls. If you look at the DDA and you look at the eventual grant deed, those specifically say that the public use has to continue into perpetuity. And if it doesn't, any private property that was acquired under the threat of eminent domain or because of an eminent domain action will revert back to the city. So in other words, 30 years from now, Bomber says, I'm out of here. I don't want to do this arena anymore. The city gets to say, those private parcels that were condemned, come back to the city. And we can do another public use with those or, sell them under surplus land. But that is what we've done to protect the public use. And the the United States Supreme Court, in the case of Hawaii Housing Authority versus Midkiff, explained that the mere fact that property taken outright by eminent domain is transferred in the first instance to private beneficiaries does not condemn that taking as having only a private purpose. It then went on to explain that government does not itself have to use the property for it to be a legitimate public purpose. It is only the taking's purpose and not its mechanics that must pass scrutiny under the public use clause. So that's California Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, and I could go through 4 or 5 different cases where that has happened. You look at what the public use is, and if you can acquire for the public use, just because you're going to transfer it to a private developer doesn't destroy it as long as you have those controls. And we ensured that there are those controls. They've also argued that the Ron hearing is a sham, you're rubber stamping, I heard that. This is similar to Norm Slauson. This procedure is nothing like the Norm Slauson case. Norm Slauson was a redevelopment case. In that case, the redevelopment agency of the city in Huntington Park instituted an eminent domain proceeding to take 4 lots from Norm Slauson. However, before it held the hearing, it misled the property owner into thinking that they weren't going to take his property. In fact, the redevelopment plan said, hey, we're going to help your business. Number two, it entered into a binding contract with the developer where they said, hey, we are going to acquire the property by eminent domain. They signed so that if they didn't pass the resolution of necessity, they would be liable for breach of contract damages. That is not our situation here. We've got a DDA in which it says that whether or not you decide to condemn any of these properties is within your sole and absolute discretion. If you decide, no, we're not going to adopt these, Murphy's-Bowl can't do anything about it. That's a very different situation. In addition, in that case, they issued bonds to pay for the acquisition all before the Ron hearing. This case, we've done nothing like that. In fact, there's no public monies that's being dedicated to this project. Now, they've criticized the city, which I find quite outlandish, for using all private monies to give the citizens of Inglewood a stadium and to fulfill a public purpose. Well, that again is also incorrect because there's a case right on point that says that that does not destroy public use. It says, a use that's a public use does not lose its characteristic as public, although there may be incidental private advantage or benefit, and that lawful eminent domain proceedings are not rendered invalid because private persons who will be specially benefited by the improvement pay or agree to pay the cost thereof in whole or in part for the reason that these propositions are well established. So again, they've come before you, they've said, hey, we're these eminent domain attorneys, you can't do this, but they didn't cite you any cases on point. There are cases on point, doesn't matter. You should be rewarded for the fact that you're not using general funds to pay for this project. Does not take away the public purpose behind it. Now, I know I'm taking up a lot of time, but I did want to.
That's okay, you can take your time.
Okay, I did want to deal with Mr. Fifi made some arguments that I haven't addressed. One being, I believe, that the project is not planned to serve the greatest public good and the least private injury. And that's not true. As you guys all know, the city went through a very rigorous environmental review. 7 different alternatives were studied. And we all know that this project site is about 25 acres. All but 6 of the 41 parcels that make up the project site are currently vacant and undeveloped. All but 10 of the 41 parcels within the project site are owned by the city or previously owned by the successor agency of the former Inglewood Redevelopment Agency. And the city has worked for 40 years to locate compatible uses for this challenging site and hasn't been able to do some. 90% of these parcels remain vacant. And by looking at all of these 7 alternatives, they chose the one that would give us the greatest public benefit and the least private injury. So I would just suggest Mr. Fifi review some of those environmental documents, and he will see that, that we have made, and you do have sufficient evidence to make that finding. He's also argued that his properties are not necessary for the project, which again, if he looked at the environmental documents, he would see that that's not true. And there's a discussion in the PowerPoint that was part of the last hearing that discusses each of the parcels and why they're necessary for the project. 2 of the parcels he's talking about are necessary for the footprint of the arena. One of them is necessary for the entrance, the security entrance of the project. All necessary part and parcel of the project. So he is incorrect there. And I know I've taken a lot of your time here, but.
We really wanted to answer the question, so it's okay.
Okay. All right. If you have any other questions, let me know. Okay, thank you so
I
much.
don't think we will. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, first I want to take number 3 separate to rescind, and then we'll move on to the others. So I move that we rescind the previously adopted resolutions of necessity adopted for APM numbers 4032-001-039 P1, 4032-001-005 P3, 4032-001-006 P4, 4032-001-033 P5, 403-001-048 P6, 403-2-008-001 P7, and 4032-007-035 P12. Move to rescind. Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dotson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales. Falk. Mayor Buds.
Aye. I move item 4 to make the required findings pursuant to the Code of Civil Procedures, section 1240-003 and 030, thank you very much, and 5, to adopt the attached resolutions of necessity authorizing and directing the city attorneys to prepare, commence, and file proceedings in eminent domain for the purpose of acquiring the private parcels that are needed for the development of the proposed IBEC project. I'm so moved.
Second.
Now, before we vote, Councilman. Well, I'm gonna tell you this, what it says, P3. Okay, I'm gonna redo P3, 4032-001-005. They said I left out the 2. So remove, first rescind, move to rescind the prior vote. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Falk. Mayor Buds.
Aye. Now, move again items 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
I hope you're right, Artie. I really hope you're right. And I'm going to review the tape. Now, before we vote, I wanted to lean on Councilman Morales, who is the senior member of the council, and I've been in Inglewood since 1972. Now, I know for a fact that the majority of these parcels down there in that area on Century, bordered by Prairie and Yukon, were acquired so long ago with airport mitigation funds, and they laid fallow for between 20, 25, and 30 years, some parcels. And in the time that I've been here, been associated with the city, although I was gone for 20 years, during the time I was here, I don't recall the city ever condemning property for a sports entertainment purpose. Councilman Morales?
No, I don't. And I have to say, Mayor, I think a lot of, and first of all, thank you very much, ma'am, for your deep explanation and taking the time to really go through and be responsive to some of the comments. Most of what we ask is so to put on record, and because, you know, we also like to explain our position. But in regards to that, I would just like to reemphasize everything the mayor said and our position, you know, hearing the fact that this process has taken so long, and we understand everything that the strategy that the other side is building, so we're listening to that. But that being said, Mayor, appreciate the opportunity and just wanted to reemphasize the fact that even since from the time I was a child through the time I've become an elected official since 2003, we've seen folks come forward with other plans only when there has been a plan already brought forward by the city, going back to the lawsuits when we originally came through here. None of those groups came forward until there was a plan by the city. So.
Now that being said, in the United States of America, there are 30 NBA teams, there are 32 NFL teams. In the United States of America, there are 19,495 cities, towns, and villages. 3 of the 62 professional NBA and NFL sports teams will reside here in Inglewood. Fully, almost 5% of all the professional sports teams in football and basketball will be headquartered here in the City of Champions. We don't take it lightly to engage in an eminent domain process. We realize, people want to be the sole determinant of when they sell and when they don't. But there comes a time in every city's history when there is a greater good to be thought of, and a time when you can seize your destiny. The moves that have been made over the past since 2014, when the forum opened, have changed the economic, job, recreational destiny, and had a great impact on public safety. We've invested heavily in public safety over the last 10 years. As a result, we have had the 9 lowest years of crime in the history of the city. So moving these items is with that in mind. And so, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Falk. Aye. Mayor Buds.
Aye. Consent calendar, items 2 through 6.
So. Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Falk. Aye. Mayor Buds.
Aye. A1.
Thank you, Mayor. We had two, City Council, we had 2 closed session items. The first one was CS1, which was the workers' compensation as to Mariano Salcido. There's a request for settlement authority up to the amount of $68,505.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Falk. Aye. Mayor Buds.
Aye.
And then, Mayor, we had the second closed session item, which was Ms. Scott versus City of Inglewood. As to that, a status report was given to the City Council and direction given to staff for the purpose of Mr. Matthews. That was a trip and fall that occurred in City of Inglewood. As to A2, or as no other oral reports from the City Attorney's Office.
CC1.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no oral reports from the City Manager's Office.
Appointments to boards and commissions.
Mayor. Excuse me, Mayor. May I make a report, please?
Yes.
Okay. Real quick, just wanted to remind all of our residents in the Senate District 30 that upcoming election is
Hold
being
on a
held.
second. You know what? I almost missed you. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, man.
All right.
I mean, I know I'm little over here.
She
It's
wasn't gonna
okay.
let it go anyway.
He didn't miss it.
It's okay. Just wanted to remind the residents in the 30th Senate District that there is an upcoming election being held on March the 2nd. We're putting out arrows so that you can drop your ballot off in the drop box at Edward Benson Park. Also would like to make mention that, this is the month of Black History Month, February. And so in recognition of Black History Month, I wanted to mention a gentleman by the name of Kenny Washington. And he's significant because our very own Los Angeles Rams signed him, and he played for them from 1946 until 1948. Also wanted to wish our very own councilwoman a happy birthday. Her birthday is coming up this week. And then in closing, a quote from Miss Cicely Tyson, who passed away. She said that challenges make you discover things about yourself that you never really knew. And that concludes my reports, Mayor. Thank you.
That's pretty good, Madam Clerk. Councilman Dion Falk nominates, and I appoint Vicki Banks to the Arts Commission. Is there concurrence?
I move concurrence.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Falk.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Now, I'm gonna do all these together at once
sir.
because she's loaded me up, all right?
Yes, sorry about that.
Yeah, go for it.
Councilman Falk nominates and I appoint Rita L. Burnett to the Aviation Commission. Councilmember Falk nominates and I appoint Lois Hell to the Civil Service Board of Review. That's my old neighbor. Councilwoman Falk nominates and I appoint W.G. Howard to the Construction Appeals Board. Councilwoman Falk nominates and I appoint Cheryl McClellan to the Housing Advisory Board. Councilmember Falk nominates and I appoint Dorothy Cole to the Human Affairs Commission. Councilmember Falk nominates and I appoint Jacqueline Cochran to the Library Board. Councilwoman Falk nominates and I appoint Henry Brown to the MLK Committee. Councilwoman Falk nominates and I appoint Barbara Brooks to the Parking and Traffic Commission. Councilwoman Falk nominates and I appoint Cheryl Shaw Williams to the Planning and Zoning Board. Is there concurrence?
I move concurrence.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Falk.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Public comment. Public comment for open items is 1 minute, and persons wishing to address City Council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered may do so at this time. When you hear me do this, it means there's 10 seconds left. Operator, are there any persons on the line?
We do have one. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello. This is Dev Bala coming back. I just wanted to comment in reference to the person who spoke in reference to the appraisals. She gave some information that I wanted to clarify. In reference to access to the buildings and stuff like that, I'm asking for very basic information which is in City Hall, and it is sitting there with building permits department and can easily be verified there. And when I did bring that up to the representative, they said it was not worth their time to correct the appraisals. And I just want you to be aware that, as citizens of Inglewood, we also have rights, and we have our we would feel that you would help to defend us and stand up for us also. And it just doesn't seem right that they won't even give us the fundamental correct information or correct offers, because it does matter. I mean, I know we've discussed that there's a jury at the end.
Sir, you're at time. I definitely hear your sentiments. Operator, any other callers on the line?
We do have a couple more. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hello. I'm calling on behalf of the eminent domain. It seems to me that y'all are trying to justify the purchases of these properties under eminent domain on a legal basis, but I think it's more of a moral and ethical issue which further overrides the legal issue. The whole essence of eminent domain was for the city to purchase property so it can further benefit the general public to the fullest. But it seems to me that this purchase of eminent domain to purchase these properties would only further benefit a private party based off the use of the general public. So it seems to me that earlier you mentioned that the city isn't funding or going to be the one purchasing these properties. It's going to be based off the buyer. But isn't the whole essence of eminent domain that the person or party purchasing these properties is the city? It just seems to me that the city, as an earlier caller said earlier.
You're at time, sir. Operator, next caller.
And your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. There are several things. First thing, I'd like a list of mutual benefits to the city with all of this development. Now, here again, we have a situation where it's not clear what is the mutual benefits to the residents. Now, you have a long-range plan with 47 properties for sale through the successor agency. Now, the question is, the monies from the sale of the property goes back into the redevelopment agency to offset what's due on the bonds. Now, in lieu of that, we have no school system in receivership 7 years.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Matthew. Operator, is there another caller?
At this time, there are no other callers.
We'll close public comment.
Mayor, excuse me, I have to.
Oh, please. And you have some emails. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. We did receive some emails, and I'm just going to say that we received emails from various of people in regards to the transit connector, and then also we received an email from a gentleman named Jonathan Halls, who has some issues with the city of El Monte.
Okay. And so if you could just keep those for the record.
Yes, sir.
All
will
right.
do.
Okay, Mayor and council remarks. Are there any remarks by the city council? Councilman Dotson, District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to say that since this is Black History Month, that, and this is the first meeting of this month, I'd like to invite everyone to participate in Black History Month by going out and reading a book or see a movie in a documentary for Black history. We have a great history. We just need to get it out. So take some time to read a book, watch a movie, and that forecast on our great story. The virus is still with us. Please continue to wear a mask, watch your hands, stay your distance, and have a safe, happy rest of the week.
Councilman Padilla, District 2.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to go back and touch on this resolution of necessity just real quick. First off, when we did the presentation, when you did it last on the 26th, excellent presentation, PowerPoint, all that, very on point. You know, and even back then, we all made our you know, feelings heard on how we feel this is gonna work and benefit the city of Inglewood, not us individually. It's about the city and also the region and what this is gonna do for us economically, for our jobs, for our schools, all the side benefits that comes with these decisions that we make as it relates to moving our city forward and putting us at the tip of the spear for all the right reasons. And, you know, we've always said no matter what we do or say, not everybody's gonna be happy. Not everybody's gonna say, yeah, group hug. We get that. But we're elected and we sit up here on the dais to make what we feel are sound decisions based on staff reports, based on, you know, if we have to talk to the city attorney, you know, how is this gonna benefit the city of Inglewood, not just today, but in the future, and how do we sustain it? And so this is one of those, where you look at it, and I wanna thank you, young lady, you know, I can't remember your name now, I'm drawing a blank. Brenda, your presentation was on point. You really did a great job of articulating, you know, the legalities of why we're able to make these decisions and what legal
concerns have already been addressed in the staff report, but you even brought up some more case law, so that we can be here, have that with us as we make these decisions. So Brenda, I want to thank you for doing that. Chris, Royce, your team, the city attorney, city manager. This staff report, again, was done very well. But again, I encourage folks to read the staff report so that you can have a better understanding of why, we move in these directions. And always, if you have a question, we're all available. If whoever's district you're in, you can always call us or email us and we'll get back to you. That being said, I want to thank the Rotary Club, Olivia Patterson, and the rest of the group for putting together the little libraries at different people's front yards and different places so that our kids can come and get a book or put a book there so that we can continue to make education important in the city of Inglewood. Mayor, can I get an extra minute?
Okay, but
Thank
when
you.
I do this, it's time.
But
All
don't
right.
do it so hard,
All
man.
right.
You're waking me up.
All right.
I also want to thank the teachers over at Payne STEAM Academy here in Inglewood. We had a Zoom birthday celebration for the city of Inglewood, 113th birthday. And the teacher is Mrs. Arita and Mrs. Benjener did an awesome job with the kids on the Zoom meeting. And we had a great time. And, our future is bright. These young kids, man, they're doing Zoom better than we can. So thank you to the teachers for doing that. And then as we talk about Black History Month, I do want to ask to close in celebration, Mayor, of a true hero, a World War II veteran who for many, many years had lived here in Inglewood and did many events for our veterans here and recently moved out of state. But he will always be a part of our Inglewood community, and I want to wish him a happy birthday today. Irvin Simonet turns 96 years old today, a true hero and a legend. Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
I had to do it. Man.
Councilmember Falk.
I want to first, again, also acknowledge the presentation of our council, Brenda. It was amazing, and like my other council member colleagues said, it was very clear, and I think that the residents of Inglewood will definitely understand going forward how we are able to make these decisions up here. So thank you again for that amazing presentation. I want to bring to everyone's attention, Assemblymember Autumn Burke is co-sponsoring a Cash for College workshop. It's happening Tuesday, February 16th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And it is for our high school students that are going to plan to attend college. So please make sure if you are interested in applying for college money that you attend this workshop. I also want to acknowledge Black History Month, like my colleagues here who did an amazing job. I want to bring awareness to Black History Month by acknowledging the historian Carter G. Woodson, who is the creator of Black History Month. It was created in 1926 in the United States, of course. And it was also created by the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. And it originally was created to be celebrated the second week of February to honor the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln on February 12th and Frederick Douglass on February 20th. And then it moved to a celebration of the whole month. I want to also acknowledge Valentine's Day that's coming up on Sunday, February 14th. I hope everybody enjoys that day. I plan to. And lastly, I do, Mayor, want to acknowledge the loss of several people over the last couple of weeks. So please close this city council meeting in honor of the following. It is 3 longtime residents of Inglewood, Tricia Crenshaw, Miss Renee Henricks, and Mrs. Kobe. And then lastly, a cousin of mine that lives in Los Angeles that recently suffered his fate. His name is Frank Calloway. Thank you, Mayor.
What was the third name?
Yes, Henricks.
No, I thought you said something after Hendricks. You didn't.
Oh, my cousin, Frank Calloway. Was
Okay,
that the
never
one?
mind.
Oh, Mrs. Covey.
See?
Mick Covey.
See, you're doing me like Artie now. Okay? You guys are making me think I'm
I don't mean
getting
to do you
senile.
like that, Mayor.
All right, Mrs. Cody?
Mrs. Mick Covey. McCovey.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Morales, District 4.
Thank you, Mayor.
3.
More of the same. First, sometimes even if it takes only 10 minutes to make a decision here, we're doing big things, and I don't want it to be lost on the fact that we don't understand our responsibility. Every time eminent domain has come up while I've been here, we've taken it extremely serious. At the end of the day, we recognize that that's a tool granted to cities with a great deal of responsibility, and we understand that. I believe that in years from now, these decisions will be seen as a great example of how to use the tools that government is given. And, no matter what, whether you speak to someone today or you speak to someone 20 years from now, there will be disagreement. But I just wanted to point out the fact that, the decisions being made and have been made for the past 5 or 10 years have changed this city already. And we're very, no decision is perfect, but we lean on everything we believe in to make them. And the $18 million that were spoken about, I've heard many different versions of that story, I'll tell you, but I was here. And I can tell you that the redevelopment agencies in California were already basically having to give the money back. That was our final decision. And it was a great decision because it turned out to be a catalyst to so many other decisions. And I'm very proud of that. That being said, I too would like to jump in on the Black History Month conversation. And first, I would like to say how fortunate we are to be part of a city so diverse and so just enthusiastic about celebrating each other. I have the great fortune of having grown up in a diverse classrooms, and not everybody has that. And so, just on the way here, I was listening on the radio, and they were talking about how Bubba Washington, who is a race car driver, when all this broke this year, he went to NASCAR, which is not a diverse group of people, and basically said, hey, I don't want the Confederate flag to be brought out at any of our functions or to be used or to be allowed. And they agreed. They agreed, and he accomplished that. And while it may appear small, I can't imagine how many people he made pause and think for a moment, and equally have given those people the opportunity to make that decision. That is, great. So many times, we don't get the opportunity to prove who we are, and he did that, and that will stay forever, and that just is my little piece of pointing it out, so thank you.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that I'm so glad you remembered that the redevelopment agency was taking back all the redevelopment funds. So we could have given it back to the state, or we could have invested in the forum. Good memory. Glad it's Black History Month. I had a different experience in Eloy. when I went to 59th Street School, my parents had moved to what was then like the West Side for blacks, and all there were white kids and black kids, and then the white kids soon moved and went to Horace Mann Junior High School, and then we would like have like one white kid. I guess a white kid couldn't afford to leave, but same thing at Crenshaw. Didn't meet Latinos until I became to the Inglewood Police Department. And Alex Padilla went to a juvenile diversion course for 40 hours. He was in Santa Monica, and my wife at the time was in Inglewood, and that's when I met Alex. Really cool guy. And then I met Latinos when I was the captain that pushed for us to hire Latinos into the Inglewood Police Department. And so we here in Inglewood have become such a diverse community, and it is just a wonderful thing. And I just love that I'm surrounded on two sides by Latinos. It's just beautiful. Si se puede. So, going to close the meeting in the name of Jerry Warren. He was best known across the nation as an iconic gospel musician and music minister, serving various congregations in Southern California. And he was minister of the music at the Breath of Life Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Inglewood. I thought we closed in the name of Tricia Crenshaw last week. Okay, so we did do that. So we're going to close in the name of Renee Hendricks, Mrs. McCoby, Frank Calloway. And we're going to close in the name of the uncle of Randall Clark III, our main security officer here, in the name of Randolph Clark. And also in the name of Mary Wilson and Cecily Tyson. And we're adjourned. Oh.